Hi all, today we are going to discuss about time graded overcurrent protection of the transmission lines. So in the case, the time setting of the relays is so graded that in the event of fault, the smallest possible part of your system will be isolated. That is the major purpose of going for the time graded overcurrent protection. So let us see different type of transmission systems where the protection is needed. Then we will see which particular type will be useful there. So first I am starting with the radial feeder. The radial feeder is one where only one source will be there, and from the source the power will go on sending to the receiving end. In between there can be branches, that means that transmission line can be divided into parts, but the power will only flow in only one direction. That means the power flow is a unidirectional flow, or the power flows only from the sending end to the receiving end. So if any problem comes in the particular part, so all the part, like for example, let us assume I am assuming the fault has happened between B and C. Then the substation between C and D as well as D to the remaining section, this entire section will be disconnected and the remaining sections will not get the continuity of supply. That is a disadvantage of the radial line, but generally the radial lines are used where the load is less and the effect of the stability is not a concern, or the continuity of supply is not a concern. Particularly this is used for rural electrification purpose. So this protection can be done either using definite time relays or using inverse time relays. So what is a definite time relays and inverse time relays, we will see one by one. So in the case of definite time relays, the time setting is made in such a way, whenever the fault happens at any particular part, the relay that is near to that fault should operate first, and if it cannot operate, then only the relay, the backup relay will operate in the accordingly. So before proceeding to this, we have already seen in our previous sections in module number 3 that whenever the fault happens, first the relay will sense the fault. When the relay sense the fault, the relay will take some time to start the operation of your circuit breaker contacts. So once the circuit breaker contacts start opening, circuit breaker contact opening also takes time. After that, once the contacts are opened, the arc will come between the contacts. So the arc will take some time to completely extinguish. So from the instant of the fault occurrence to the instant of complete arc extinction, this is called as fault clearing time. So generally this time will be minimum value of the 0.38 seconds to up to 0.5 seconds is required. So if your second relay is operating before that, that means simultaneously 2-3 relays may operate, because once your relay has sends the signals to the circuit breaker, so even if the power is disconnected, after that your circuit breaker will operate. So that's why the second relay should wait at least for this fault clearing time, at least for minimum this much time, plus some extra buffer should be given extra to this one. So generally the value varies from 0.3 to 0.5 seconds. That's why a time delay of 0.5 seconds is kept between two adjacent relays. Or we can tell that, let us assume the relay at point D, some fault happens at this point here. So then relay at this point D should operate the first. So we go for non-directional relays, that is indicated by the arrows in both the direction. This is set to operate for 0.5 seconds. And this relay will operate after 1 second. That means if this relay is not operated, then only this relay will operate. And this relay will operate after 1.5 seconds. And this relay will operate after 2 seconds. So the relay operating time will be like that. So at this point, up to this point, if the fault happens, it will take 0.5 seconds. And this relay C will take 1 second. So this is 1 second. This will be 0.5 seconds. And the relay at B will operate in 1.5 seconds. And then the relay at point A will operate in 2 seconds, and so on. So accordingly they will operate. So you can see here, as you are going from the receiving end towards the sending end, the time of operation is more. So there is a disadvantage of this method. Let us assume if the fault happens between the sections A and B. So if the fault happens between the sections A and B, because the time is fixed, the relay will operate after 2 seconds only. And sometimes this time may be extremely high. In that time your entire system may damage, because we know that as the sections are increasing, the time will goes on increasing. So this is just for the case of 4 sections, but practically more than 4 sections also possible. So that will lead to increase in the time of operation, that creates the problem. That means if the fault current will goes on increasing as the fault is happening near to the source, but here time is opposite, it is taking more time when the fault current is more. So there is a chance your system may damage or the stability problem comes. This is the major disadvantage of this. So what is the solution for this? So the time of operation of the relay should not depend only on the location of the fault. It should also depend on the how much magnitude of the fault current is there, or how much impact it is creating on your system due to that fault. That should be taken care. That is missing in this method. So I am just repeating whatever we have seen till now. The major disadvantage of this scheme is that if the number of sections are increased, the time of operation of relay at the source increases. As the fault current is more, if the fault happens near the source, the relay should operate based on the time, based on the magnitude, and time should not be fixed, as it may lead to damage of the system. So it should depend on the fault current magnitude. Fault current magnitude, and in the event of fault near to the source. So why the current will be more, so that you will get doubt. So let us take the case. So this thing to another to explain, this also discussed in module 3, I am explaining here. So you can see here, let us take any type of fault. Let us take for example, 3-phase fault will be most severe, then comes LLG fault or the LG fault. So I have set my overcurrent relay with a particular current magnitude. So you can see here, if the fault is happening near to the source, so the impedance that is opposing it would only equal to source impedance. So that's why let us take the example of a 3-phase fault. So you can see the current magnitude is maximum. But as you go away, because as the impedance of the transmission line is adding to your source impedance, the fault current magnitude goes on decreasing. That means if the fault happens farther from your source, then in that case, even if your source relay operates after long time, then it is not going to have so much impact. But if the fault happens near to the source, it should be operated immediately, because the magnitude of the fault current is very high. So in order to incorporate this function, we go for inverse time relays. So for inverse time characteristics, we go for IDMT relays, and this IDMT relays are adjusted, that PSM and plug setting multiplier and sim setting multipliers are adjusted in such a way in order to get the required characteristics. So what is the characteristic of IDMT relays? IDMT relay characteristics will be like this. As the value of the fault current is increasing, the time of operation, so let us take the time of operation, this is my value of the fault current. So the time of operation is inversely proportional to the magnitude of the fault current. That means if the fault current is less, it takes more time. If the fault current is more, it takes less time. So based on these characteristics, we can get our required things. So what it will be done, if you are taking at relay number A, so relay number A is set like this. Minimum time will be required for operation. So it will have the characteristic like this. This is the relay at A. So the relay at B, because this also will have the similar characteristics, so it will start around here and it will have the characteristics like this. So it will operate in this way. So the time will goes on increasing. So this will go on increasing like this, because I cannot plot in this much small space, so that's why I am drawing like this. This is for relay number B. And similarly, this relay number C, the relay number C is at this location. Again, it is also set like that. It will have the inverse characteristics like this. So similar is the case for relay number D. So this relay number D also, minimum time for operation is same for all relays. So this will be like this. So this is for relay number C, this is for relay number D. So because of this inverse characteristics, let us take for example some fault has happened at this point. So the fault has happened at this point. So which relay will have the less time? The less operating time for this particular fault will be the relay number D is having the less operating time. Then comes the relay number C, then comes relay number B, then comes relay number A. So that's why we can tell that first relay number D will operate, and if relay number D fails due to some reason, so we will keep it in such a way that the time gap between two adjacent relays, that means the vertical gap between these two, this is adjusted to have nearly equal to minimum 0.5 seconds delay will be maintained. Similarly, between C and B also 0.5 seconds maintained. Similarly, between B and A also 0.5 seconds are maintained, so that only if the relay D fails, then only relay C will operate, and if this fails, then relay B will operate. If B fails, then the relay A operates. So let us assume if the fault happens near to the source. So if the fault happens near to the source, you can see the time of operation is minimum. If the fault happens near to the source, if the fault happens far from this source, then the time of operation of relay number A is going on increasing. So this is the advantage of going for the inverse time characteristics. I hope the inverse time characteristics are clear to you. So let me try to explain it once again so that it will be much more clear. So let us assume the fault has happened at this point. So the relay D, because you can extend the line from here, from this fault, you can see it is intersecting at this point, that this is my operating time of relay number D. So let us assume relay number D has failed to operate. Then for this particular fault, the relay at location number C will operate after some time, and this relay at point number B will operate after some time if C fails, and relay number A will operate after 0.5 seconds if the relay B fails. So in that way, backup protection is also provided. At the same time, the time of operation of the relay will depend on the location also. That means, let us take for example, if the fault happens near to the source, the relay at A will operate at the minimum possible time, and compared to the previous case, the time graded case, it is taking more time, around 2 seconds, 3 seconds like that, but here it will take only 0.5 seconds. So this is the advantage of going for inverse time relay characteristics. I hope this is clear to you. So the same thing I have repeated here. In this protection, the time of operation is inversely proportional to the fault current. The process of setting the PSM TMS for the relays to get this characteristic is already discussed in module number 3. You can please check there how to do it. I don't want to repeat them once again, because again it takes about half an hour. So you can please refer to lecture number 308 and lecture number 309 to get the complete clarity of how to get these characteristics. In 308 I have discussed the 3D, and 309 I have solved some numericals in order to get these characteristics. Now let us go for the parallel faders. So parallel faders, because I told you in the radial system, the continuity of supply is hampered, because if the fault happens at a particular point, so complete distribution line after that point, complete section will be disconnected, even though the fault happens in a small section. That means, that is a major disadvantage of this. But if you want the continuity of supply, so in that case we go for parallel feeders. That means wherever the continuity of supply is required and it is of vital importance, so in that case we go for the parallel feeders. So in the case of parallel feeders, what we do, non-directional IDMT relays, the IDMT stands for inverse definite minimum time lag relays. That means it will have the inverse time characteristics. Inverse definite minimum time lag relays are employed at the sending end of each relay, and reverse power instantaneous directional relays are used at the receiving end feeder, which operates only for the power flow in the direction of the arrow. Let us take for example, if I am keeping the arrow like this, the meaning is it will only operate if the power flows in this direction. So here you can see the arrow is in both sides. That means it is a non-directional relay. So we have seen in module number 3 that the non-directional relay operation is very simple and cheap when compared to the directional relays, because directional relay needs 2 sections, so the cost increases. So that's why wherever it is possible, we always prefer to go for non-directional relays, because the cost decreases and simplicity, maintenance cost, everything will be less. And wherever it is really essential, then only we go for the directional relays. So that's why at section number A, and you can see at the sending end, this A and B, they are having a non-directional inverse definite time relays. That means inverse characteristics will be used. And in the end of the faders, we go for instantaneous relays, which will operate for a particular type of direction only. So under normal condition, you can see under normal condition, the power will pass from this generator. So the current I1 will pass like this. This is I1. So through the feeder, the current I2 is passed, and this will be supplied to your load. So this current will be equal to I1 plus I2 will pass like this under normal operating conditions. So let us take the case when some fault happens, how this is going to behave. So let us take the case some fault has happened. So some fault has happened here. So this fault will be supplied from 2 sides. This fault can be supplied from this side, and the second option is the fault will be supplied like this. That means it will pass like this, it will come to the substation and it will supply like this. You can see there are 2 ways in which the fault can be supplied. So what we have to do when the fault happened here, I want my only feeder number 2 should be disconnected and feeder 1 should be in running condition. So for that what I do, because the fault is supplied from this circuit breaker, anyway this will be operated, and they are having inverse characteristics, because either circuit A can operate or B can operate, because both are supplying the fault. But you can see with respect to the location A, this is very far, the fault is very far compared to with respect to the point B. That means the fault current supplied by this feeder A will be very less compared to that of feeder B. That means feeder we will operate earlier when compared to feeder A. So only if feeder B fails to operate, then and feeder A is continuously supplying for more time, then only it will operate. Otherwise, the feeder B only will operate. I am repeating once again, if the fault happens at this point, the distance from B is of the fault is less than the distance with respect to the A. So that's why only the circuit breaker at B will operate. Getting this one? So now coming to this one. So if the circuit breaker at A operates, this entire feeder 1 will disconnect. I don't want it to operate because it should continue. That's why, because you can see under normal direction, the current direction is like this. That means through this circuit breaker at location Q, the current direction is from left to right. Because of now the fault, the current direction become reverse. So whenever the current direction is reversed, that means the power direction is reversed. So here we install the instantaneous type of inverse direction of the power relay. So whenever the power direction is reversed, instantaneously the circuit breaker Q will operate. That means for the fault F, what will happen? The circuit breaker at B and circuit breaker at Q operates, and power will be supplied to load from feeder 1. So now feeder 1 is designed to operate for a particular current. So for little bit of time, a little bit of it will operate at a overload, and the operator who is operating the substation will know that the particular type of some section is disconnected. So he can take care that he can disconnect some of the load so that this overloading on this feeder is disconnected. So continuity of supply is not interrupted using this one. Getting this one? So similar is the case, the fault happens in any other location, similar way it will be done. So here how we are achieving this? Using two non-directional relays and two directional power relays. So this directional power relays operates even for the small magnitude of the reversal in the direction of the power. That means even if 10 to 20% reversal of the power has taken place, they will operate for that particular case also. So now coming to the third type of system which is commonly used in cities, that is a ring main system protection. So all the power stations and substations are interconnected by alternate routes. That means if a particular section is disconnected, the continuity of supply to the remaining sections is not affected. The power can be supplied by other sections. So that's why it forms a closed ring. That's why it is called as a ring main distribution. So the ring main distribution will be like this. Let us assume there is a generating station. There can be multiple generating stations. So there are different substations S1, S2, S3 and S4. You can see all the substations are interconnected. All the substations are interconnected. So now the grading is done in such a way at the generating end side. So we go for non-directional relays. So we go for non-directional relays, and for the different sections, that means at each substation both sides there will be relays. They are the directional relays which will operate only if the power direction has changed. Only if the power direction has changed. That means this is S1. Under normal operating condition, the power is supposed to pass like this. So this side it will be like this. So and here the relay direction will be like this. So same thing is the case here. Here it will be like this and here it will be like this. And similar is the case here. Here it will be like this and here it will be like this. Similar is the case here, it will be like this. Here it will be like this. Now how to set the time? So how to set the time? The time will be, because fault can happen anywhere in the section, because under normal conditions, because this generator will supply the current in this direction, agree with me? And similarly from this generator the current will pass like this. Let us assume it is supplying to S2 and through this it is supplying to S3. So when the fault happens anywhere in a station, so these directional relays will operate for that particular one. So how to keep the time setting for these directional relays? Try to understand it first, then we will proceed for the remaining things. Because this is against the direction of normal direction of the fault. So this will operate if the fault happens here, because the current direction, because generator 1 will supply the fault current in this direction to this fault. Agree with me? So then this relay should be activated. Relay I should be activated. So this, because we know minimum 0.5 seconds gap is required. So 0.5 seconds is kept here. So then next to this one, which relay will operate in the same direction? The relay number G will operate. So I am keeping 0.5 seconds difference. So this will operate after 1 second. And which relay is having the same direction? Again relay number E. So this relay number E will operate after 0.5 seconds. So this is 1.5. Again relay number C, this will operate after 2 seconds. So after this, which is operating in same direction? Relay number A. So this is set to operate at 2.5 seconds. So in this way you have to do. So let us repeat the same thing for this case. So under normal condition, the current direction will be like this. This is my normal. Under normal condition, this is my current direction under normal conditions. So now this relay B should operate, because normally current direction is like this. This relay will operate only if the current direction is reversed. So that's why the worst possible case will be the fault that is happening between the sections A and B. Agree with me? So this section B should operate first and disconnect, so that other part is not disconnected. Only this particular section will be disconnected. That means if the fault happens here, the relay at A and the relay at B only should operate, and remaining should continue to be non-operative. Getting this one? So for that, what we do, for this relay number B, I will start. So here I am keeping, this will operate in 0.5 seconds. In the same direction you take this one, this will be operate after 1 second. And again going here, this will be operator after 1.5 second. This will operate after 2 seconds, and this operate after 2.5 seconds. So it will be designed in this way. So depending on whenever the fault happens in any particular section, the relays which are near to that will operate. So let us take for example, if a fault happens here. So some fault has happened. So for this fault, which relays will operate? The relays at this F and relays at E will operate first, because these are the relays which are supplying to them. Agree with me? So these two relays will operate whichever are near to the fault. These timings are not fixed. Actually, I am keeping from this direction, how they are oriented. Getting this one? So you can see here, whichever relays are near, whichever are supplying to this one, you can see this time is 1.5 seconds. This time is 1.5 seconds. Out of all this, these are having the minimum possible time of operation. So which relays will operate? Relay number E and relay number F operates. So let us take the case, some other case. So let us assume the fault has happened here. So for this fault, what will happen? So relay number I is not supplying to this one. So which relay is supplying to this one? Because the fault current will pass like this, right? And the fault current will supply like this. So which relays will operate? So if the fault happens here, then relay number J and relay number G will operate. Relay number J and relay number G will operate for this fault. Getting this one? In this way, depending on different location of the fault, the respective relays will operate for operation, so that the continuity of supply is not interrupted. I hope the overcurrent protection of your transmission lines using time graded protection and is completely clear to you. If you still have any queries, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. I will answer to your queries from there. Thank you. Thank you very much.